Welcome to my podcast entitled The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William Wright, the founder and host of this show. Very, very soon, I will be celebrating the anniversary of my 6th year as superintendent of Hereford County Public Schools in North Carolina, and will be completing my 9th year as superintendent overall in the summer of next year. Over these years, I've been fortunate enough to get to know and work with some amazing leaders from all across the United States. The vision of this show is to continue to share these podcasts with you so that we can learn from people who are leading others every day. This month, in the month of October in particular, we are featuring principals in honor of National Principals Month. Our initial focus of this show has been and will continue to be for a while on the educational leaders. And during the year of 2022, we will be expanding to other disciplines down the road. Please, by all means, when you hear something that you like, please drop us a comment, click like, or if you're viewing us via YouTube, please click like, and most importantly, that subscribe button. I've been absolutely pleased and amazed with the responses thus far, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow this podcast to reach even more of you as time goes on. This is episode 33 of the Wright Experience. During the month of October, as I've said earlier, we have been observing National Principals Month by featuring public school educators who are serving as principals in today's schools. My guest tonight is first and foremost a former schoolmate, although she graduated after I did. Not a classmate, but a former schoolmate of mine. She went on to establish herself as one of the premier educators in the state of North Carolina, and additionally, she matriculated through the leadership ranks to become a sought-after school leader. Most recently, she's completed her Doctor of Education degree while serving as a high school principal in a large high school. I truly understand the challenges that can bring, as I went through some of those myself. We Nash County natives are proud of our homegirl. My guest tonight is Dr. Greta Dula. Greta Dula has been in education for 32 years. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary and middle grades education, a master's degree in school leadership, also from North Carolina Central University, and a doctoral degree most recently given to her. She was awarded to her, wasn't given to her, at High Point University. Greta Dula's teaching years expand from Edgecombe to Wake County Public Schools. Dr. Dula taught 7th grade language arts in Edgecombe County, where her mother was a public school educator of 30 years. She also taught 3rd grade at Lead Mine and Durant Road Elementary Schools. Dr. Dula's school administration journey landed her among top educators in Franklin, Durham, and Wake County. She served as an assistant principal at Oak Grove Elementary in Wake County, and after 5 years, Dr. Dula was named Franklin County's first magnet school principal for Riverside Elementary School. As a principal, she also had the pleasure of opening Creekside Elementary for Durham Public Schools. Among the many administration opportunities, she decided to return home to the Wake County Public School System, where she was appointed principal of Wildwood Forest Elementary. Dr. Dula then served as the principal of Ligon GT Magnet School, and right now she is currently the principal of Sanderson High School. Dr. Dula's 27-year journey in education has undoubtedly been an amazing ride, leaving her to cherish several accolades, which range from, but are not limited to, Principal of the Year finalist in Wake County, Principal of the Year in Franklin and Durham County, Council for Exceptional Children's Administrator of the Year in Wake County, the Employee Excellence Award in Wake County, the NCAE Principal of the Year, and RPD. She also received an RPD Safety Communication Commendation in Wake County, and she was a finalist for the Wake County Principal of the Year. Dr. Dula believes in the power of community involvement. She served as a middle school director for the Wake County Division of Principals and Assistant Principals. She is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. She can also be found nurturing young educators to become successful administrators. Dr. Dula is energized by her students. She believes in the potential of all kids. She mirrors this inspiration and holds it true for her teachers. She challenges them to lead beyond the classroom, and her legacy has now reached beyond the school into district, state, and national leadership. And additionally, she strives for all parents to be engaged and involved as partners in her leadership work. And at this time, I'd like to welcome to the Wright Experience my homegirl, Dr. Greta Dula. How are you this
I'm
evening?
doing great. I'm glad to be here. You know, this is one of my favorite. I want to call it a television show, but I just love it.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I'll pay you later. I appreciate you saying that. It's a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Dula. We certainly are proud of you as our homegirl and all of the wonderful accomplishments and career that you've had thus far, and just really pleased and excited to see what's been going on with you. So let's get right into the show. I'll ask you to start out by telling our viewers about Sanderson High School and that amazing environment that's been created there for students to learn.
Well, I have to say this about Sanderson just starting out. I spent 11 years as a magnet school principal. So coming into Sanderson, I was really excited about being there, but I was thinking that I would miss the arts and the things that we had in the magnet school. But with Sanderson, I haven't missed that at all. We have an incredible arts program. We have an incredible, if I walk down the halls, you can see just art everywhere, and it's incredible art there. The teachers and the traditions. Of course, I wear Sanderson gear everywhere I go, and it's not a moment that I don't get stopped on the street saying, "Hey, I went to Sanderson. I graduated this year. I know friends that went there. I have a great team. My administrative team is everything to me. I believe strongly in team, and you'll hear me talking about that a lot. But Sanderson is just a great school with traditions. It was opened in 1968, and we have about 1,620 students, and we have such great parent partner groups, and the staff is incredible. Yesterday, I was walking down the hall and reflecting just on the great teachers, and going into classrooms really energizes me. I was in a classroom where the teacher was actually teaching newspaper, and just seeing the kids engaged and talking about the stories, it's a good feeling.
Outstanding. And this is year what at Sanderson now for you?
This is year going into year 3.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. So, Dr. Dula, you had the amazing task, and I've been through this, so I understand it well, about I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. You completed your doctorate in education while working as a principal of a comprehensive high school, which is an amazing feat in itself, and you're to be commended for doing such. So for these professionals out here listening that have the need to further educate themselves while working, what advice would you give to them?
I would say balance.
Yeah.
I remember initially one of my friends would go to the library every weekend and work, and I thought I could take the weekends off. Turns out I need the weekends. Also during the pandemic, as unfortunate as that time was, I was afforded time at night to actually spend some time working on it, combing through articles. But I would say definitely, if you're continuing in the work, make sure you balance yourself. Use that time on Saturday in the library. Um, I remember I heard the expression, spend a little time every night writing. I would say that is definitely true, because you want to be committed to both your job, you want to be committed to the work of completing this big feat. So you definitely need to exercise balance.
Outstanding, and it is a continuous process, and I even use the word an extremely long endurance test about that. But
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Dr. Zwadek, who's one of my favorite people in the world, was my dissertation chair, and I did not look forward to seeing her email in my inbox.
Yeah, motivating you to continue, I'm sure.
I love
And
her for it now, but it's certainly, I would always peek for her name in my inbox.
that's right. That's right. Remember those days. Change the names, and I remember those days. As a veteran leader, Dr. Dula, who has done the work at a high level for many years, you've been in school district administration for many years. So, what things have you learned that you wished you had known earlier in your career that might help aspiring leaders?
I talked about it a little bit earlier, but balance is
Hmm.
important. Um, as a new leader, I remember I thought it was the coolest thing that my PTA at Creekside knew that on Friday nights I would be at school late and they would bring me dinner. But in hindsight, I realized I probably could have utilized a little bit more balance
Hmm.
than I was using as the young Greta. I don't know if I like the young Greta term, but we'll go with it. Um, Also, one thing that I've learned in my career is collaboration. And
Right.
really, truly, in leadership, it takes a team. I talk about that a lot in leadership: teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. And I think it's so important because everybody truly brings a different perspective. When there's a decision to be made, I still like to hear the voices of my fellow team members around the table talking about how will this affect us? What can we do to help support? Uh, I like to hear from teachers. I like to hear their voice because they're in the classroom. They're doing the work every day. They're working with students. I want to hear how they feel about things. So I think the movement away from when I started out in the business, I actually started out as um, the only one. I didn't have an assistant principal,
Hmm.
but moving along in the ranks, I've had the opportunity to work with just incredible folks um, that is in realizing the importance of hearing the voices of all stakeholders. You think about that when you hear about it in education, and you hear about that in your books that you're reading for ed leadership, collaboration. Um, you don't realize just the value of it. And even when I'm interviewing teachers, because they have to work with teams, I want to know from them, how do you collaborate? What does that
Right.
mean to you? Because in education, you realize you can't be an island. You need all those varied perspectives to really make the best decisions for both students and teachers.
And that really gets at the heart of all inclusive leadership, doesn't it? Where you're not going in the office, shutting the door, making a decision, and letting people live with it, but you're involving them in the decision making process, which is so much more palatable and necessary, particularly in today's schools. I think
And
we've got to go
And
ahead. Mhm.
interestingly enough, even including parents at the table.
Absolutely
My
right.
parents have been, when I think about the parents at Sanderson and Ligon and Wildwood Forest, all those schools, they've just been integral partners in our work.
Mhm.
I think about the things that they've brought to the table and helped support us with. Is we might think of it as a poster maker being a small thing, but we're so excited that our PTO said, "Hey, we will do this." Just helping us with campus beautification, helping supporting programs. So when I think about collaboration, I think about staff, and most recently, as I go up in levels and working with students, I think about even students, bringing students to the table. Last year, I had students involved in an interview process, and I was blown away with the questions that they had because I asked them to prepare questions prior to, and the questions that they had were just incredible. So, collaboration is definitely something that I've learned along the way, and I find the value in it every day.
So young leaders understand that collaboration is absolutely key to being a successful leader. You heard it from Dr. Dula. How about that? So, in your illustrious career, we heard many accomplishments already, but what accomplishments that you've achieved such thus far, Dr. Dula, are you most proud of?
It's a little bit different than what you may think, because some
Okay.
people might look at the of the years or accommodations or that kind of thing. But the thing that
Right.
gives me most pride in my career is when I am sitting in a principal's meeting with folks that either I encourage to go across that line to administration. It's been great, and I still do. And as I'm walking the building, I'm looking at people that I think would be great leaders.
Right.
So when I sit in the principals meeting and I look across the room and see so many people that have either they've done their administrative internship with me, served as an assistant principal, served as a teacher with me, it really gives me a great sense of pride because I know that they are affecting the lives of young people and educators. And as I said earlier, my mom was an educator for 30 plus years in Edgecombe County schools. So educators are near and dear to my heart. And the reason why I want to do this work and do it with fidelity, um, but also the lives of kids that we affect. When
Right.
I think about the people that are out there in these buildings affecting the lives of students, that's huge for me. I love looking and seeing those folks, and I take great pride in looking at folks and say, "Have you thought about this?" I even had a conversation today with a young man about the principalship and leadership, and just looking at all facets of leadership. So I love having that impact. I love when I get the phone call from one of my novice or former interns or assistant principals to ask questions because I feel like we're still in that network. So just build, that's my, in some way, that's what I give back to education.
Yeah. And we need folks to continue to do just what you're doing. Our profession still needs great leaders, and sometimes, just as it happened with me, and I'm sure probably you, sometimes you're complacent doing that role that you've been assigned, and you need someone sometime to come to you and say, have you ever thought about this? And so that's great. That's great, and it is a great feeling. I know I've got people that I've worked with that are now got a couple of them that are superintendents, believe it or not, that worked with me in leadership, and there's no greater feeling than to have people that you see be successful because of
Absolutely.
something that you might have done or said along the way. So that's great. That's great. And let's go to the next one. Dr. Dooley, you've served now as a leader, both in rural districts and as well as, I guess, Wake will be considered to be an urban district of sorts. So, what things do you see as needs for rural schools that more affluent districts like Wake have readily available?
I think a district like Wake, that I call my home district now, has the benefit of infrastructure,
Right.
resources, different things that I can think of that I can call and bounce off someone. Um, being my assistant superintendent is Chris McCabe even, and I can
Mhm.
call him or text him and know that he's right there. So I have um, my own area superintendent. When I think about special education department, we've got folks there that I can call and help, ask for help. So I think more than anything is the infrastructure, um, but the heart and soul of folks doing the work, you can find it in all those different places.
That's right.
I I, I worked in Edgecombe County right out of school, and great people. I remember the superintendent coming in to visit me. Um, and then I think about our great superintendent now, who I see this, when I think about what we have coming up on November 12th, we have the opportunity to have a remote learning day for our folks to have, and just being responsive to our schools. But when I think about the difference between the rural and urban, I would certainly say just the infrastructure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, infrastructure and resources, absolutely. I remember that year and a half I was in Wake. I was amazed at at the resources that are available. You're absolutely right about that. So let's talk a little bit about recruitment and retention. Uh, what practices have you noticed in your career that are helpful in the effective recruitment and retention of school personnel that we need to do a better job of doing in school districts, in your opinion?
Wow, if you'd asked me that question a couple years ago, pre-pandemic,
Yeah,
I think
right,
we're all right now struggling to make sure that we can find good, solid folks to come in and work with our people. When I think about retention, I think back to the collaboration piece. I think
right,
back to listening to folks. One of the things that I want us to continue to do, and we try to do it monthly, is to kind of see where our folks are and what we need to do to pivot, what we need to do to add, support them in different ways. So just really knowing your folks, trying to work with them, support them along the way. In terms of recruiting, I'll tell you, I'll recruit folks anywhere I can go. Right now, I'm talking to PTO about helping us find people. When I go into a grocery store, I talk to people about just opportunities out there. I've had the good fortune to do a little bit of recruiting for Wake in my past, as well as when I was in Franklin, I had the opportunity to do that. But it's going to be really incumbent upon us to really listen to our people in terms of retention, really do what we can to take things off their plate. Uh, you know, I think about last month, I could tell just based on some feedback that folks need that valuable thing, time. So
right.
we canceled our staff meeting just trying to find a little way just to give back some time to folks, but listening to their needs and trying to be responsive to them, particular in times like this. We just really need to be listeners, and we need to definitely be responsive.
Especially, I think that's especially true right now because we've asked teachers for the last, I don't know, 18 to 20 months to just about work miracles with all of the additional responsibilities that we've sent their way, and our teachers have some social and emotional needs too, just like our students do. So you're wise to do that and to take that into consideration. That's
I'll
great
tell
stuff.
you, because
Yeah,
they make it happen. Like I said
that's right.
earlier, when I
That's right.
walk by those classrooms and to see them engaged and really just working with kids, regardless of all the stuff that's going on and outside, the extraneous stuff, but they are making it happen every day for students. And I just have such admiration for them and the work that they do every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Dr. Dula, we mentioned the pandemic earlier. We talked about the pandemic and the challenges and so forth. But it's also given us a lot of opportunity to rethink our approach to the way children are served. So, uh, what do you think we should do moving forward with that knowledge now that we've been through it? And I'm not sure we're finished with it by any means, but what do we do
Well,
moving forward?
I do think this has been a key time for us to
Right,
learn some things. Um, I think about engaging with students' parents. There used to be a time when you used to say, I couldn't get them, they can't come to the meeting. I
right,
think this has really pointed out to us and illustrated to us that we can have a meeting just like this with them and talk to them about the needs of their student.
that's
We
right,
don't have to have them to come in, although we would welcome them to come in, but just those different things that I wouldn't have thought of earlier.
right,
But parents love to have the opportunity. Even when I'm in IEP meetings, parents love to have the voice. And you see less of the opportunity for them to, like, I'm not going to go to school. I'll tell them I can't come and they can handle it. But parents are showing up, and I like that. Also,
right,
I think engagement is key. You know, we've learned from the pandemic the different levels to engage the kids, and I see that, as I'm walking in classrooms, as I'm in classrooms, the kids still want that good old engagement and just how do we do it? Would engagement look different now? Um, we can engage them in many different ways, from synchronous words that we didn't think about before, synchronous, asynchronous, all
Right.
those different ways that we can now engage kids. So I think about engagement of students and engagement of parents. Certainly, the pandemic has demonstrated a way for us to do that. And realizing that some of them are still achieving and is achieving at high levels.
That's right.
Um, so for some kids, I was talking to a young lady the other night at Powder Puff, and she said she's a virtual student and she still loves it. She said it works for her. So giving kids that option too, I think has been great with the pandemic. Not just
Uh,
we don't think about school doing school differently.
that's right. And the option and the flexibility, and I totally agree. I pre-pandemic, you kind of knew that we were going to go to some form of what we now call virtual learning. I just don't think I thought, at least, that it would be during my career. So it's been really interesting, and a good shift for us to have that flexibility moving forward for sure. So I'm going to rephrase my question a little bit, because I heard we don't need to talk about a young Greta Dula. So I'll read the question this way: if you could talk to a younger Greta Dula at the beginning of her career and offer advice about getting to the success that you enjoy now, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to dig in and enjoy the ride,
Okay.
enjoy all the steps along the way, learn everything that you can, always be a continuous learner. That's one of the reasons why I really do love your podcast, because I have the opportunity. I've heard people from the young lady who worked in Virginia as a professor, to various superintendents. And I think it's important for me as a leader to always keep in mind that, what I see right here is right, what's in front of me. But
Right.
there are so many other things going on and so many different approaches and so many things to think of, um, that you have to continuously learn and grow and be willing to grow, um, and not be afraid. Today I picked up my phone and called Mr. Osley, one of the assistant principals, and said, "Hey, can you teach me how to do this?" And he said, "Sure." So he was able to help me. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call someone for help. Always, always commit yourself to learning and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and you called on a good person. He used to work with me, so I know what you got there, and that's great. Um, so I'm going to add one here. So if we are thinking futuristically, if you will, about what the perfect school would look like, because you've been in school buildings for years. So what would that school look like in your opinion? If you're going to design if you can start from scratch, design um, Greta Dula School of Learning, what would it be?
Wow. I will have tons and tons of strong teachers.
Right.
Um, I would have engaged parents along the way, students who were excited about coming into the building, lots of resources so students can have, um, not only technology, but books, the
Right.
opportunities for guest speakers. Some of my, I remember learning along the way, and one of the things I loved about High Point University was the fact that they would bring in good people like you doing the work and having the opportunities for kids to engage and do internships, um, to go outside the building. Um, I would love for them to see a happy staff,
Uh-huh.
opportunity for them to really shine and do those things. Like, I love magnet schools because it offered kids that opportunity to really hone in on their gifts and talents. So it would definitely be that. It would be a place where parents felt comfortable, a resource. One of the things that I always in my mind imagined was having a site where parents could come in who maybe needed to get their GED or something like that, they could come to the school. So the school is truly a hub, um, and smiling faces and happy people and engagements. And I could go on and on with this question, but even just corporate sponsors and business partners, I think are all will be all pivotal in the work at the school.
Because all of that works together to create an amazing experience for children, doesn't it?
It
And you
does.
really have to have all of that too. Don't need to leave any of that out for sure. If we're designing a successful school for sure. So, Dr. Dula, that kind of exhausts my questions. Is there anything that I've left out that you'd like to share with the audience at this point? I'm sure there might be.
Um, Nothing more that one of my great joys in this work would be working with my students.
Sure.
They give me they just give me the air that I need to continue going on. I love seeing what they're doing. I love seeing what they're accomplishing. And I might would tell that younger Greta Dula that sometimes you might not see. You might see little Johnny in the hallway, and when you see little Johnny growing up and doing those great things, you look back at all those different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so that's what.
Outstanding. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you hold on with me for a minute, we'll come back and close out the show. In observance of National Principals Month, all of our guests this month, as you've seen thus far, have been practicing public school principals. I trust that this far we've learned from these experiences and the awesome knowledge of the principles that we've shared with you so far this month. My guest next week will be Dr. Sonia Oates, who is a brand new elementary principal in Pender County, North Carolina. Dr. Oates also has the unique perspective of being the wife of a superintendent in North Carolina as well. So I look forward to that experience next week. That'll be next Thursday evening, 7:00 p.m. on the Wright Experience. Dr. Dula, just want to thank you very much for being my guest. You know that we're Northern Nash proud of you too, by the way, right?
As with you.
And so we certainly are. I appreciate your willingness to be a part of the Wright Experience. I've been watching the amazing things that are going on in your career and now at Sanderson High School. And just want to say, as a fellow colleague, I'm proud of the work that you're doing to improve the lives of children, and want to encourage you to continue to do that for as many years as you want to work and do that work. So just thank you for being my guest. To the audience, I hope that this podcast serves to motivate us all to be better. And I want to thank you for watching.
Thank you.